Hi guys.
Konstantin.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you guys. Let's give the others a minute to join and we'll start. How's your day, Shika?
Good, good,
Good?
good. Yeah, I have my kids home today, so my background will be a bit noisy.
Yeah, no worries. No worries at all. Kids are great.
He can't see you.
Why did you run?
Oh, and thank you for updating the calendar because I couldn't find it in my calendar last week, so I had no way to join.
I see.
Yeah, I should take
Yeah.
your number so it's easier to communicate that.
Yeah, and you could email me anytime or
Okay.
send me a Slack
Okay.
message or
Yeah,
something.
sure.
I mean the Reddit message. Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty.
Good. So I think we can start, and then if someone wants to join, they will. So today I wanted to cover the incident response process, which is one of the. Hey Shaquille, how you doing?
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Good. So today we're covering the incident response process, and as I tried to do that from the beginning, but we actually started doing that since the last session mainly. I'll try to show you not only the theory but also the practical examples, and we can talk more. And maybe if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them. And of course, at the end of the session, I would appreciate your feedback. All right, so let me. Yep. So let me share my screen real quick and. So the incident response, right? Let's talk about what goes into it. So here you can see it's a work stream that runs on a clock, and the reason for that is simple. If there is an incident, we have to react to it somehow, right? And every organization, every company has to have the incident response plan, and it rolls back to actually the business risks and risks associated with third parties, the own employees, and such. Reason being, the incident can come from anywhere, and it's not necessarily related to software systems. It can be a break-in in the office facility. It could be a theft of a laptop. It could be a theft of sensitive documents. It could be anything. It could be even a sick worker, or or the disappearance of a subcontractor could also be treated as incident. And when the company builds its own business risk registry or a third party related or employee related risk, a list of risks, they should actually understand clearly what could be categorized as an incident, what couldn't. So the incident response is only a part of the process here, right? For us as GRC specialists, the most important piece first is the setup of incident response. And the first thing is the incident response policy, right? And the incident response policy has to clearly state what is categorized or classified as an incident. And then it should define the list of steps that organization has to take in order to respond to the incident. And when we're talking about the response, it's how we detect the incident, how we contain it, right? How it's eradicated, how we recover from it, and what type of post-incident review we're doing, how do we learn from that mistake, from that issue, and move on, right? And if the supplementary, like if there are any, if there's a big impact, like very bad consequences or something, we also need, there are also other procedures that may be activated. For instance, the disaster recovery plan or business continuity plan as the result of that incident. Let's, what I wanted to show you, and the other thing that I wanted to mention here is the incident response is one of those, I would even put it as maybe as a central to governance overall, the incident monitoring and response, right? Because from the risk management perspective, it's probably after we establish all this foundation and all those protection measures and everything, the incident response becomes process, I'd say, that consists of monitoring and responding to incident. It becomes like the most important piece that is actually producing data. And as every business runs on data, the governance, risk, and compliance within the organization also should run on data. And incident, the number of incidents and how we handle them actually reports or gives us that necessary feedback, those data points about how well we perform from the risk management perspective. So it's a very important subject, if you will, to always have on your table as a GRC specialist, on your plate. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how we organize all that, right? So it starts with the classification. What's an incident, what is not? And every organization is different. Every company is absolutely different. So when we classify something as an incident or not, it's actually very specific to that particular company that is doing that exercise. Of course, there are normal or standard way of categorizing them. For instance, I worked at a company where I tried to categorize, and it was actually easy to categorize every operational incident, every security incident, every physical security incident similarly. Like it always was the incident per se. So there was no other classification for those events. So if something happens, then we should apply this 5-point framework to it. When we detected it, right, then we contain it, we, it's eradicated, then we recover from it, and we do the post-incident review, right? I will give you actually a quick example of that, a screenshot of how we logged those incidents and what came out of it. But first things first, the classification. You may have different ways to classify events, let's put it this way. Some of them will be incidents, others won't be. But the rule of thumb is when there's an outage of the information system, it is definitely the incident. So I'd say it should always be categorized as an incident, right? If your contractor or a third party that you work with doesn't show up for work, it's an incident, right? If we left a door open in the office facility, I would say it's an incident as well, right? If a visitor is not supervised, it's an incident. And if they have access, if we know that they had access to the rooms labeled employees only, or then it's definitely also an incident, right? Is data breach an incident? From my perspective, it definitely is. If you may choose to go simple, you may choose to go simple on it, or like you may want to invent some complicated rules around incidents. But my experience shows that the easiest way is to classify every event as an incident, and then the less harmful events may just fall out of scope, right? For instance, if there was, I don't know, if the electricity went out for a minute in the office location and nobody actually noticed that because everyone is on the laptop and the battery, right? It's an incident, but it doesn't matter. There is no need to actually take any action on it. Only if the Wi-Fi router came up nicely, right? If there was a problem with it, then you have to take actions on it. So with incident management, it's important to first classify stuff, to understand what's an incident, what's not. And again, to reconfirm, my experience shows that it's easier to classify every event as an incident and then figure it out, like as you move on, working on them. Yeah, thank you, Abdul, for asking that question. What is the difference between event and the incident? I'd say every event could be classified as an incident or not. Event is everything that's happening around you, right, or in the organization. It could be a visitor comes in. It could be the new account you register in whatever third-party system. Everything is an event. It goes back to the monitoring per se, right? So we say we need to discuss that in more detail. What are those things that we establish monitoring for in the organization, right? And from that monitoring, I usually say, let's establish operational monitoring and security monitoring. And from that monitoring, you will have a lot of events coming in, and the majority of them, or some of them, will be noise. The rest will be the actual events that you may want to look at. And from those events, you will classify some of them as incidents, initially all, and then you will apply filters so that you filter out that noise, and you will have a good list of incidents that you are monitoring for, you are responding to. So first classification, and then the actual plan. What we do if there's an incident. So it should be a good practice to make some people accountable for the monitoring, right? So if we and we will discuss it in more detail in the other sessions, we establish the operational and security monitoring, including physical security, physical operational monitoring. And there are people accountable for that monitoring. And these people actually form what I would call the incident response team. Reason being, because they monitor, they receive those monitoring alerts, and for that reason, they have to take action on them, right? And because of that, they actually form the incident response team. And when the incident response team is the second aspect of the incident response process. The team should know their duty. Actually, they should be aware, first of all, that they are a part of the incident response team. And when they understand that, when they know that, we should agree with them on the rules of the incident response, how to react to the incidents, and what's the most important for us as a business to take away from that incident. First, of course, we need to protect our systems and immediately take actions if anything goes wrong. And then we should learn lessons from it. We should create additional action items for different teams within the company, right? So they can do something to prevent this incident from happening in the future, right? So the team and how to agree with the team on what to do is the incident response plan. The incident response plan is a document that explains two main things. First, what is monitored? It's actually three things. Let's start with monitoring. What is monitored? How it's monitored? How the alerts are being generated and sent? How people are being alerted of the events, right? What events are classified as incidents? I mean, usually the document will mainly explain what's not classified as an incident, but it actually depends on the organization. For some orgs, it's easier to say what's excluded from the definition of an incident. For the others, what's included in the definition of an incident. Then after that classification, who is in the team and what exactly they are accountable for in terms of monitoring and alerting, where the information about the incident, who is the first to receive that info, right? And then how this team is structured, what are the roles and responsibilities within the team. So let's say I'm now aware that I'm a part of the incident response team, but what role do I play in the team, right? I need to make sure that my role does not interfere with others or I don't mess things up, right? So after we know the roles, we need to agree on the rules of handling the incident. So generally, in small organizations, and I cannot speak to the bigger ones, but I would envision it structured kind of similarly. The bigger orgs usually differ from the smaller orgs in the number of people and tools and overall assets, right, that they operate. In the small organization, I would generally recommend that you set up a single issue tracker to track all your incidents. So we start with the incident response handling process starts with tooling, first of all, right? And the tooling is needed to receive the information about the incident and then track it until it's fully executed. So let's say in our example, in case of Orbis, it would be easy to assume that given that they are building their own product, they already use GitHub as a VCS, version control system, for their source code, but also GitHub provides a good user interface for managing what's called issues, right? So basically, it's a good issue tracking system, and Orbis could leverage this issue tracking system for tracking incidents. Thank you, Abdul, for your question. Can a GRC person also be a part of the incident response management? And I would say a GRC person, it actually depends on what's a GRC person's role within an organization, right? But definitely the answer is yes. But now in more detail, we need to discuss in what sense, right? To what extent they can be a part of the IR team. If the GRC person is their main specialization is to establish security monitoring, of course they are a part of that IR team. If they are more high level, like more strategic, they play the more strategic type role, that they are a compliance officer or something, they definitely are being informed of those incidents. So in one way of another, the GRC person is mostly always a part of that team. But the question is to what extent, right? Okay, so we discussed the roles within the team, and now the incident response tooling, right? For Orbis, it will be a GitHub project, sorry, a GitHub repository that will have the empty code repository with just an issue tracker, or we can create a project in GitHub and track those issues through there. Yeah, but anyway, the incident comes in, and the incident response plan actually has it defines all those steps, how the incident comes in, if it's detected, right? And then within the incident response team, there will be people accountable for actually handling it. And then the other important step here is to define the SLA. For each incident, we need what is called the criticality, right? So how critical that incident is for the company. If the incident is of low impact, it can be handled within, let's say, 24 hours, at least reviewed. And then additional actions will be taken within, I don't know, 30 days, for instance. If it's of high criticality, it should be taken care of within like 2 hours. If it's highly critical or something like damaging the systems, or let's call it a critical level of criticality, then it should be handled within minutes, because the critical incident is usually about some real material damage to the company, like it's an outage, or it's a break-in, or whatever that is, right? So the incident response plan, of course, you can see the sequence, the SLA, the evidence outputs. So the other step will be, first of all, the reaction. Sometimes we need the immediate reaction to the incident, but it doesn't mean that the reaction should not be structured. I've seen many cases when people rush into handling the incident and do more damage than the actual incident brought to the company. Because so the main thing here is to build the incident response team of people who are not panicking, right, when handling the incidents. And the reason the incident response plan, the policy, exists is so you can open it up and you see all the steps that you have to take, and you just take them one by one. If the first step says, hey, isolate, or cut off the systems, or puts the stuff down until further investigation, you just do that first step calmly. You just shut down a part, isolate a part of the network where the malicious actor tried to break into, or if they broke into it, and you're just isolating it for further investigation. But you ensure that this network connectivity is no longer available for them, and maybe even for you, but it's your system, so you will be able to recover it quickly. So the first steps, first and foremost, the plan exists to provide the actual well-structured instructions for the person or people working on the incident, so they don't do things out of panic, or they don't rush into it. As soon as they perform that, the step necessary, the eradication step, right? Then they need to go deeper into analysis and analyze what actually happened. Because one thing is the signal that you received. The other thing is the actual thing that happened, right? You don't know the consequences. The signal tells you that, let's say, there was a break-in, but whether it's true or not, you don't know until you analyze. So you take time, and then and incident response is a very important process. It's like in terms of maintaining the SLA. So you know that you operate within the SLA. And this is why the criticality matters. So the more critical the incident is, maybe the bigger the incident response team has, the number of people involved should be to actually deal with it faster than with the others. So you do the analysis. So the incident response plan puts the steps for the analysis, and then as soon as you analyze and assess the damage, you can take the next steps to recovery, right? As soon as you know the damage, what happened, you make a plan out of that particular situation that you are in. And this is all this recovery step. It could take a minute, it could take an hour, it could take weeks, right? And it actually then depends on what are those goals the company was setting for itself in terms of incident management. What are those main things that should be available from the business continuity perspective, regardless of the incident? For instance, let me give you a quick example. Let's say that our main system goes down, people are no longer able to use it. What's our promise to them, right? What's the main thing for the company to recover? What is the first thing to recover? What's the SLA for it, right? And obviously here, not obviously, but in the majority of situations, the goal will be to recover and make system operational as soon as possible. And data availability may be secondary, because if the system, for instance, is ingesting consumers' data, then the availability of data that's already in the system may be of less priority than reinstating the data ingestion process. For the other types of systems, maybe the data availability is the higher priority, and maybe not the user interface necessarily should be up and running, but let's say the API, some machine-to-machine interfaces should be there and working up and running faster than everything else, right? So it depends actually on the company, and those main things should also be present in the incident response plan or the SOP that you create out of it. That you should actually have some a list of things that of the utmost importance during the recovery process. And it also helps you manage this enormous pressure that is put on you and the incident response team if a big incident has happened and everyone is like waiting on you to do something, and you're trying to recover everything at once and it doesn't go well. So then when you have a list of things that actually should be up and running first, you can focus on those things. And again, it is a very good psychological it's good from psychological standpoint as well, because the incident response team is definitely working under pressure. And then the last step in that plan will be, what do we do in post incident when everything is recovered? What should we do next? Should we just forget about it? Should we learn from it? Should we take any additional actions? First and foremost, this incident should be reviewed right after it happened, right after the recovery has happened. The reason why it should be reviewed quickly is because when it's fresh, when it's fresh, still fresh in your mind, you remember every detail. You remember what was the most painful during the containment, eradication, or recovery, right? and you don't know, and because it fades out over time, and while it's fresh, you should have that post-incident review. In the review, you may do it. Well, I would recommend doing it as a group. Even 2 people as a group is great. But if you have to do it alone anyway. Don't skip that step. Remember everything, how you felt during, the incident. What went wrong? What went fine? Right? Where you succeeded? What were the weaker links? And how it all played out, right? And from the post-incident review, the biggest learnings are how to feel calm, focused, and just normal during the incident recovery process. What needs to change in the incident response plan to make the team more efficient and less pressured, right? And then the action items, basically based on what went wrong, how to improve, right? Maybe we need to engage software developers and tell them, hey guys, the incident response went badly, mainly because some parts of the system were slow to respond, or they were not behaving properly, and we had to apply patches ourselves. That is typically a software development work. Maybe you will revisit the structure of incident response team and say, hey, no. Now it's not only the, let's say, the DevOps who are doing the incident, the recovery next time. We need software engineers to help us with the recovery. Please give us the person or a group that will be accountable, and we will always involve 1 or 2 people from that group, or a few people from that group, to help us with the recovery next time, right? Or maybe we need a public relations department to be more involved because they haven't published a public notice about the incident. And maybe they did not submit a report into the authority. It mainly applies to Europe, Canada, and others, Australia, about the data breach, for instance. And we violated as an org, as a company, we violated our own data breach promises, notification promises, and even the law. It could even be the law. So you decide from the post-incident review. It's actually a great time to improve from all aspects on incident response, right? And again, it could be anything. It could be any department that you want to involve, and they should be responsive to that, because it's every incident that happens is not only a great data point for the GRC person in the company or the GRC team in the company, but also it's a great talking point, let's put it this way, with the leadership. You can always go back to the leadership and say, hey guys, we need to improve this and this and this, and we need a budget for it. And they say, why? And you say, hey, you saw what happened. You don't want that again because you lost money on it. So it's a good case to make for any type of leadership to actually get a budget for improvements, right? And unfortunately, people work that way, right? It's our brain works that way. We don't want to spend money on what has not happened yet. But if something bad really happened and we know about it, we'll be much more interested in investing into protecting ourselves in the future, right? So this post-incident review it's a golden mine. Actually, it's a good good thing on all fronts. All right. So do you guys have any questions about what we have just discussed? Because I gave you a quick overview of the process of what goes into policy, let's discuss the next stage. So we classified incidents, we prepared tooling, we put things on paper, we created some SOPs, team members, we structured the team, they know what to do, right? We established operational and security monitoring, which is out of scope of this discussion, but of course it's a big discussion by itself. Now the information started flowing. We are reclassifying incidents to get rid of noise. And let's say the next step is to just wait, right? To just always be on alert. And then the alert comes in or not. Let's say 3-6 months. It's of course an exaggeration. It will never be that that long. But let's say 3 months have passed, nothing has happened. Do we need to do anything? Yes, we definitely should. And do you guys know what I'm going to say? What needs to happen after some time without incidents? We should make sure that our incident plan still works. It's called a tabletop exercise that we need to conduct. Right? Shika, is that what you wanted to say?
I was going to say review, do a review, conduct a review.
Yeah, so it's actually testing. So we need to test it. Even if we live without incidents, which is great, but it actually means that our monitoring is probably inefficient, right? Because there is this saying that every company was breached, was hacked, maybe not even once, but they may not know about it and just be happy and think that it never happened to them. So the incident response plan testing needs to happen regularly. The rule of thumb is like, from the auditor's perspective, when they audit you against a particular compliance framework, they say do it every year. But from my perspective, I'd say why not do it every 3 months? And especially because especially if it's good to do it once a year if incidents keep coming, and I'm saying some incidents are not harmful, but you still execute the whole incident response plan on it, or a part of it, of the incident response plan on it, right? Because you anyway want to learn and improve, and you want to actually improve the protection levels on your own information systems or physical locations or people's devices or people themselves, right? But especially but when you go into this incident response testing, it's called, you need to conduct a tabletop exercise on incident response. Basically, you simulate the incident, you come up with a few scenarios when the incident comes in, and you play them like it's a drill, right, for you. What's most important from that drill is to first ask yourself a question. If there was no incidents before the drill, why, right? The first question would be, why there were no incidents? And the first thing you should look at and test in your tabletop exercise is actually, how well are the things monitored? The first outcome from this exercise will be improve our monitoring systems. Make sure that we capture events either from systems or from people or from the security cameras or elsewhere, and that we actually see them, that we triage them, reclassify them, and the goal of the next tabletop exercise is to make sure that we actually had some incidents in the system. Because if we don't, we need to change the whole team, right? Go ahead, Shaquille.
The question is, so let's say monitoring how the SIM is set up, right? If it's capturing the adequate amount of, the incidents, of a correct way of, capturing the incidents. whose responsibility is that? Is it the GRC analyst? Are we going to sit with them and figure things out, or they they do it themselves?
Yeah, so if we talk about monitoring, let's dig into it for a couple of minutes. Where do you establish monitoring? Physical level, you put security cameras on in the physical locations, right? This is your security monitoring, the way it ever was before any internet and, whatever information systems. Or you put a guard, of course, it's the past time. If you talk about some ancient times, sometimes people still sit inside locations and just do that type of monitoring. So this is one type of monitoring. The other type of monitoring is digital, right? Monitoring the information systems. So you establish what's that? You collect the system execution logs. You discuss it with the developers, right? How to establish proper monitoring. Who is responsible for monitoring information systems? Mainly DevOps personnel, right? Then, or if there is a security team, the DevSecOps person who is establishing some sort of security tooling. There is a tool called Wazuh that establishes security monitoring across your information systems. It's a commercial type software. There is a tool called Wazuh. It's an open source equivalent of Wazuh. The security team members, if there are any, are responsible for establishing that type of tooling and establishing monitoring and classification of those events, reclassification them into incidents, right? DevOps are responsible for establishing operational monitoring, and of course, they are responsible for the event flow, for the event classification and reclassification of events into incidents. What else? What other types of monitoring we have? The device monitoring is a responsibility of the IT department, and they are responsible for establishing tooling for it, which is usually in the MDM, mobile device management system, right? That should actually also provide them with some sort of monitoring, security monitoring on those devices. And they are responsible for the events, for the flow of events and reclassification of events into incidents. And then people looking at security cameras, or AI looking at security cameras, people looking at the security events from the security tools, people looking at the operational events from the operational monitoring tools, they are all responsible for their own monitoring and alerting, and for entering incidents into the incident tracking system, into that GitHub Issues tracker in case of Orbis, right? And as we discussed in our earlier sessions, who is that? Is GRC guy responsible here or participates here? Of course, the GRC analyst helps all those guys establish all that monitoring and ensuring that it's done to the best practices, because the compliance controls and the overall risk management principles dictate or influence those decisions, right? Did I answer your question, Shaquille?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Okay, so we did the testing, and of course the testing should also be described in the incident response plan. And we discussed the incident response process. Now let's talk about some legal obligations here. So when there is a data breach, we are obligated by law to report to the supervisory authorities in case of GDPR, for instance. 72 hours window, we have to report the incident to the supervisory authority and send out emails to all the affected people. And if they want to talk over the phone, be ready for it. Then HIPAA actually mandates the data breach reporting within 60 days. For SOC 2, there is no fixed deadline, but it's a general rule of thumb. If there is a data breach or any damage to the data of individuals, the end users, or the organizations that you're contractually obliged for, to do the data protection, then it's also a part of the incident response process to do that type of reporting. We are talking about the response process in general here, but in case of every, the situation in every geographic region is a little bit different, and you should always partner with the legal team on the privacy aspect of it to keep an eye on those SLAs, basically, for data breach reporting, for handling that stuff, right? Okay, so I think it's time to show a real example of what incident response incident ticket may look like, right? Are you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Let me show you. Just one moment. Okay, so let me know if it's visible to you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just a simple example of the incident that I filed in the incident issue tracking system back in 2023, right? And it's a real one. I tried to hide all the sensitive information from here. And you can see that it actually, we maintain the project in GitHub called Ops Incidents. And all those incidents that we entered into the system got the label incident management, so we can track them properly. And what happened is, I usually, when I log the incident details and then track the incident handling, the goal is not to generate like ton of documentation around it. The goal is to be very, simple and easy here, right? But at the same time, try to provide the comprehensive information to yourself. So as soon as 8 p.m. on December 20th, we figured that the production environment went down and there was no good reason for it, right? Because everything was fine. The AWS was working, but our system stopped responding like at all. And people started seeing and reporting the issues with SSL certificate on the domain, on the website. And it took us several minutes to group together with the other DevOps person. It actually was only two of us handling it. The first thing I did, I created this description because I didn't want to rush. I didn't want to rush into it. I wanted to put some structure from the very beginning into this incident, so I know that everything will be documented and tracked during the investigation and stuff. So then I put this line here that around 8:12 we started the investigation. So I worked with the guy who was a part of the IR team I told him, hey, please verify what's wrong with those SSL certificates. And he started digging into it. And I captured first investigation details from here. And then we actually, as we got to testing, we realized that our domain name was expired. Oh, it was not expired. It was suspended for the lack of registrant verification. So we did not verify the domain based on the request that DNS Simple sent to us. And they just blocked the domain. The domain was active, everything was fine, but they blocked it. The domain, all the website names stopped responding, stopped resolving, and because of that, everything got blocked. So it's actually the root cause. We found later what happened, but I always put a section for the root cause because it's the most interesting piece, right? So the testing part gave us a clue what happened. We later identified the root cause, not quickly. And oh no, here in this case, we actually identified it rather quickly. And then we went to the resolution step, which is we reached out to our CTO to locate the missing email. We then verified the domain ownership through that email, and it took time for us to recover from the incidents. The actual system recovery took around 6-8 hours, as you can see here. Because as soon as the domain got unblocked, it actually still had to populate across the whole internet, this change, and it actually took up to 24 hours around the globe. We started seeing some positive results in 6-8 hours. So we were down, and what's a couple interesting things here. The whatever findings we had, right, we needed to improve on receiving those emails. It's the first lesson we learned, and this is how we started building the list of subsequent action items for our team, for the other teams to take. So this is only one example of an incident. I had some security incidents that unfortunately I don't have the screenshots for, so I'm not showing it here. But overall, the root cause and the resolution process gives you a good understanding of, and also the investigation time and everything gives you a good sense of pain that you have to go through as a company while while detecting, containing, and recovering from the incident. And it actually is a great, as I mentioned, it's an eye-opening experience for the company every time, because every incident is different. And if you actually learn from it and create action items to take and assign them to whoever is responsible for them. And again, as I mentioned, a quick side note, when incident has happened and bad things happened, people will be much more interested in investing time and money into preventing it from happening in the future, right? Than before, than when this incident never happened before, right? So it's a win-win, and action items are very, very important to put together, and people, as I mentioned, will be very interested in playing on it together with you and fixing that. But I mean, it tells you about the pain that you're going through, and it gives you the valuable learning, lessons that you learn from, and it actually, throughout the whole experience, if you create those action items and you talk to people to help you resolve, those issues and prevent them from happening in the future, you are building a great case for improving overall company's maturity, level in terms of security. So the security, the way people perceive security changes a lot. They see value in GRC, in you as a GRC specialist in general, in how you establish the incident response process, how you're learning from it, how people are learning from it, how the whole organization participate in those exercises of preventing these things from happening in the future. It actually adds up to the overall maturity of the organization, and it's probably the most impactful way of learning. Unfortunately, we learn from mistakes, right? So, but it actually is the most impactful way of learning, and it also helps to prevent the bigger, more damaging incidents from happening in the future. And down the line, there is if there are any approvals that are required alongside processing or tracking this incident, you can simply, in a small organization, this is what we did, we simply requested approvals and comments to the GitHub issue, and people responsible were giving those approvals as comments back to us. This way we tracked it all, we kept the whole audit log of the incident tracking inside the same GitHub issue. And then as it was resolved, we closed it, and it was a great, as I mentioned, learning lesson to learn from for us, for ourselves, for the whole organization to grow from the security standpoint, and for the SOC 2 audit that we repeatedly went through every year. Because they saw that we are actually, our incident response process is not only on paper, but we're actually also maintaining, we're actually enforcing it. We're doing what we promised. And it's also great that I've put some timelines, times here, so we can review it against our own SLAs and improve if needed, right? Because it's not only the lessons learned from the incident itself, but also a chance to improve in every aspect that relates to the incident response. All right, so guys, I think that was generally everything that I wanted to cover today. Do you have any follow-up questions? All right. I hope this means that the information was provided it was in the understandable way, right? It was provided in the understandable way. And
yes.
Great. So I'm happy that we went through this today. I'll see what will be the next topic for us. And I mean, as always, I'm very pleased to see you all on the call, and thank you very much for doing that. Let me know your thoughts, feedback, additional questions in Reddit or over email, or let's connect on LinkedIn and communicate there as well. And okay, yes, Temitayo, right? Emmanuel or Temitayo? Go ahead. You have a question? All right, so I think it was just a hiccup. I wish you guys have a wonderful weekend. Whoever in the States, have a wonderful celebration of July 4th. Who are the incident owners? the incident owner is usually the incident response team identifies the incident owner as soon as the incident is comes in. So it could be anyone actually in the company. It really depends on the incident, right?
So is it the board of directors or the GRC analyst?
So the GRC analyst, so GRC's role is governance, right? So sometimes the GRC analyst could be the owner, but it's very dependent on the type of the incident itself. Okay. All right. Great. So thank you very much, and you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you next Friday. Thanks again.
Thank you. You do the same.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.